Turmoil and disarray in Zena Stevens Sheriff's Department. Let's get dialed in. Hello and welcome to Texas Talkin', where we shine a light on the people who run the systems you're supposed to trust. Here in Jefferson County, Texas, Sheriff Zena Stevens has been in charge of keeping law and order, or at least that's the job description. What she's actually been doing? Well, that's a little murkier. Now, Zena Stevens happens to be the first Black woman elected sheriff in Texas. That's impressive, right? Sounds like progress. She's certainly proud of it. But let's not get distracted by titles or headlines. Just because someone's in charge doesn't mean they're doing their job. And trust me, under Stevens' watch, the sheriff's office has turned into something closer to a bad reality show than a functioning law enforcement agency. Let's start with the basics. Running a sheriff's office is supposed to be about safety, justice, and upholding the law. But under Stevens, Jefferson County's seen more scandals than you'd expect from a Bravo TV show. I'm talking about lawsuits, allegations of misconduct, financial mismanagement, basically everything except keeping the county safe. It's so bad, you half expect a camera crew to jump out and announce that it's all part of a new Netflix crime drama. But wait, it gets worse. Zena Stevens is in charge of managing taxpayer dollars. Your money, by the way. And you'd think she'd be careful with it, right? Wrong. Remember the little federal indictment she was facing not long ago? Oh, yes, the one where she was accused of violating campaign finance laws. Now, you'd think someone in law enforcement would know the law. But I guess enforcing the law and following it are two different things in Zena's world. Now, Stevens is quick to call out her haters and claims that the criticism is just part of being a trailblazer. Trailblazer? Sure. But if blazing a trail means dodging ethics questions and running a sheriff's office that feels more like a circus, then maybe we need a different kind of trailblazer. And let's talk about public safety. Under Zena's leadership, violent crime in Jefferson County hasn't exactly been declining. In fact, it's been more like a steady rise. Sheriff Stevens is really good at PR. I've met her in person. She comes off as both charming and charismatic. She can get in front of a camera and tell you everything's fine. But when it comes to doing the job, the numbers speak for themselves. And folks, those numbers aren't pretty. So here's the big question. Why does Jefferson County put up with this? Why are we letting Sheriff Zena Stevens turn the department into her personal drama club? The sheriff's office should be about keeping you safe, not about who's getting sued, who's misspending money, or who's next in the scandal spotlight. At some point, you have to ask, how many more headlines, lawsuits, and scandals does it take before Jefferson County says, enough? Is this really the person you want overseeing law enforcement in our community? The answer, I think, is pretty obvious. But hey, I'm just asking the questions. You decide. Sheriff Stevens' Republican challenger, Officer Stephen Broussard, has spent nearly 40 years as a police officer, and he's ready to bring constitutional accountability to the sheriff's department. Joining me now is Republican candidate for Jefferson County Sheriff, Officer Stephen Broussard. Stephen, welcome back to Texas Talkin'. Good to have you.
Hey, good to be here. I appreciate you inviting me.
Absolutely. Now, Officer Broussard, I want to get to arguably the most troubling information that's been brought to my attention right away. Multiple anonymous deputies within Zena Stevens' department have revealed that she's bullied and badgered them into voting the way she wants them to vote. Apparently, she tells them she can check to see if they vote in the Democrat primary and even who they vote for. What's your reaction to this, sir?
Well, she cannot, without having a warrant to go in and check to see who voted in a presidential election. That's unlawful. But what she's doing is she's having her management or her supervisors, and I think we've encountered a couple of them, going around telling them that she is going to check the voter ballots to see who they voted for. Probably won't matter because I think by now, I think I'm going to win this. So
that's the spirit.
Yeah. So it's typical of Zena Stevens. I know for a fact she used to do it in the primaries because I was supervising the courthouse, and she would go and pull the voter registers and check to see who voted and how they voted in the primary, where they voted Democrat or Republican.
Wow. So you mean to tell me, Officer Broussard, that you have firsthand knowledge that Zena Stevens does, in fact, check to see if deputies voted in the Democrat or Republican primary, and then does what potentially with that information?
Well, then she knows, say, for instance, she's on the Democratic ballot, then she know if they pulled a Republican ballot, then that she knows they didn't get she didn't get their vote.
They didn't vote for
it. Correct. They couldn't. But in the general, she cannot do that.
That sounds a lot like election interference to me.
It is. Yes. Voter and election interference.
And you've experienced what I would characterize as a little bit of interference yourself in recent days, having your Facebook account deleted on multiple occasions without explanation.
Yes, I checked on that, and my wife is pretty savvy when it comes to the electronics, and she thinks that what has happened is I continue to be reported as either a fake account or going against community standards, and I hadn't even been posting anything. I just basically had my website up there. So I'm pretty sure that this is coming from the Democratic Party.
So switching gears for a minute here, I guess kind of one of the things that I would expect from sheriff's deputies or really any police officer is basic physical fitness requirements. In other words, I want to know that the people who are charged with protecting our community are in relatively good physical shape should they need to chase somebody down or perhaps even use physical force. Tell me more about physical fitness requirements in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department.
Well, when I was there was standards. And so to pass the basic peace officer academy, you had to meet a physical agility standards. And it wasn't something that each person could eventually get through it. It started at the lower end of the spectrum and worked its way up. As long as you were showing improvement, you would end up passing it because there was help for you to pass it. But some of Zena's pals didn't want to participate in the physical agility part. So
and why would they not? Why would they not want to participate?
Well, I don't think even with just a little bit of effort they could get through it.
Ah, okay. Meaning they couldn't pass it probably themselves.
Correct. So she just done away with the physical agility aspects.
Let's just do away with the requirement altogether. Wow. I mean, I said this in my run up, but this is like watching a circus or some sort of, Netflix TV crime drama. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No, and it's unbelievable. You tell someone about it and they think you're stretching the truth, and every bit of it is the absolute truth.
Well, let's talk for a minute about some absolute truth as it relates to taxpayer money and Zena's catastrophic mismanagement of taxpayer dollars. So the jail, I think it's fair to say, is in shambles. Employees are often denied basic needs, and yet Zena somehow has the money to replace wheels on county vehicles because the wheels they came with are apparently what she calls too ghetto. Is she a sheriff or an organized crime boss?
Well, I would list her as an organized crime boss. She takes this money and manages. She's good about hiding it and spending it in areas that it doesn't need to be spent in. So I just recently got some more information from some corrections officers. They're putting in for their vacation and their comp time 6 months ago, and then now, say today, they check on it. Tomorrow they start vacation or comp time, and they're canceled because the jail is understaffed. And so just a couple of months ago, she hired 30 people and 15 have already resigned. That's not an employee problem. That's a management problem. The corrections officers are begging for help. They're under a lot of mental stress because of the shorthandedness in the corrections department. So Zena Stevens has allowed that to slip through, and they lost their accreditation on the corrections end. Now she's forcing the corrections officers, if they want to keep their jobs, they have to pay for their own training, use their own cars, and pay for their own hotels to go take this training, because Zena Stevens has not supplied trainers in her for her corrections department.
So, Officer Broussard, I've been told by many people now that she also, speaking of wrongful terminations, she also engages in racist hiring and firing practices. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I know firsthand that she has told me in the past when I was there, and I was friends with her. I thought she
That's
was
important for people to know that at one point you were friends with this.
I thought we were very good friends until she came to me and told me that to start making it as hard as possible on certain employees. I was a supervisor. And she even come out and said it, that old white boy been here long enough. He needs to go. And she thought something like that was funny. But she doesn't discriminate just against white people. She discriminates against black people too. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter to her.
So what's her MO? I mean, what is she driving at with these hiring and firing practices?
Well, it's to set herself up. She has, I know one instance, has filed bankruptcy, and I think some people are helping to fuel her financial needs. And she has to get players in place to be able to, like, if she getting their election time here, she was gearing up to demote some people, terminate some people, so she could hire more friends who were financially capable of supporting her campaign.
Loyalists and allies that she could
Correct.
Use as essentially political pawns. So we've shared with everyone the reasons to not vote for Zena Stevens. I want to give you an opportunity, Officer Broussard, to tell the people of Jefferson County why they should vote for you.
Okay, well, I'm here to protect the county. I'm a constitutional sheriff once I get into office. So basically, that means all the constitutional rights for citizens are also afforded to the employees. And I intend to see that goes through. They can talk about me all they want, bring the evidence, and then when I prove that I'm not corrupt, we'll shake hands and they can go back to work. The federal government does not need to be involved in our daily activities. They're only here to be sure that the county honors the Constitution of the United States. So with that, I believe that I'll be a big asset to the department. And then once I get in there and be able to see where the needs are for these corrections officers, I believe things will begin to fall in place. They're under too much mental stress. All of these terminations and rehiring of people, firing of people is costing the taxpayers dollars. And I can put an end to that. I know how to manage.
So it's been about 6 weeks now, but we challenged, you did, in fact, Sheriff Zena Stevens to come on this program and do a debate. I approached her in person just a couple of weeks ago at a Southeast Texas Press Club event and did the same thing, invited her on for a debate. She told me she would think about it. She said, I'm not saying no, just not right now. To date, she has not reached out to me in any way to confirm coming on for a debate with you. The invitation is still on the table, and I want to make sure that the voters of Jefferson County know that you are willing, ready, and able to have a public forum debate with Zena. I would serve as a timekeeper, not a moderator, so I wouldn't be asking questions, which would leave absolutely zero room for bias. What are your thoughts on that, Stephen?
Well, I almost forgot about that, and I'm glad you brought that up. So I was invited to One Vote, or Project One Vote. Basically, that was a lady that had won, I think, a city council seat by one vote. So she puts on Project One Vote, basically saying that even one vote can matter in an election. So Zena was there, and she introduced herself as the GOAT. And then, well, if that's what she believes, that's fine. So then I asked her about why she is shunning a debate on your program or anywhere else.
What does she say?
She told the audience that I'm too inept and ignorant to carry on a debate.
Oh.
So I basically told her, well, then that should make it easier for her to win the debate.
Yeah, if you're so inept, come on, Zena. It should be a laydown.
Yeah, well, and that's how I looked at it. And if she can prove me wrong, so much the better. But she knows I know where the skeletons are hidden, and she knows I know how she mistreats people. And in fact, another lady had texted me earlier during the week to tell me that there is black female, that there is no way she is voting for Zena Stevens, that I was the only person at the sheriff's office at the time they tried to accuse her of misdoing. I'm the only one that stepped up and protected her. I refused to write her up because I knew she had done no wrong.
You've been pressured in the past to try and not tell the truth and suffered the consequences for it, Stephen. That's something that's flying around out there, and you're welcome to give clarity to voters who may have heard rumors that just are not true about you.
Oh, definitely. And really, they try to dance around it because they know they're not supposed to ask me this, but I don't mind telling anyone. I was maliciously and wrongfully indicted, and then I proved my innocence. And not once had any of them come forward and say, well, you know what, you were innocent, you did no wrong. So my record is expunged. I'm in good standings with the state of Texas with my peace officer's license. I'm working as a police officer, and I had done no wrong. But they tried to pressure me into telling lies on the district judge, and I refused to do it. And so I suffered the consequences. Actually, my family did, because they were the ones that got put through the ringer on that. Me, I can handle myself.
I don't doubt that.
You attack my wife and a 7-year-old daughter, and they want me to forget about that. That ain't gonna happen.
Good for you. So, Stephen, before we finish, I just want to give you one last opportunity. What's your final message to voters? Early voting in Texas starts on October 21st, so right around the corner. What's your final say?
Okay, please keep me in mind when you go to the polls. Remember, I'm a constitutional sheriff. I'm going to be looking at what we need to do to improve this county. I'm going to be looking at keeping the federal government out of most of our business and letting the citizens of the county decide what needs to be done. And most importantly is the corrections officers. I will look at them first and get that place up to standards where they don't have to work under those type of conditions. And I just hope that they realize I'm here to help protect them also.
And the community. Stephen?
And the community, yes.
Officer Broussard, may God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great state of Texas. Let's keep Texas talking. Thank you.
God bless this county. Thank you.
Stay dialed in to interviews and content just like this by clicking that follow button on my Facebook page, or hit the subscribe button to learn more about exclusive access that you won't want to miss.